Well, on Sunday, the people of Afghanistan were treated to yet another civilian massacre, courtesy of the United States military. Now, at first, the Pentagon was claiming that this was a drone strike carried out on these terrible Taliban fighters, and that they'd tracked down these 3 individual Taliban guys and sent a drone to take them out in their car while they were driving down the road, and thus making all the people of their village that much safer, because now the Taliban is gone. Which, hey, just as a side note, it seems strange to me that they're calling drone strikes on individual Taliban fighters like just grunts. They're not. These guys aren't even commanders. I mean, how much money is being wasted every year droning individual fighters? I thought that these assassination ploys were supposed to be to take out important leaders in these movements, not individual fighters. That just seems ridiculous. But I guess when you have an unlimited budget, and when companies like Raytheon, which make these drone bombs, have a lot of influence, well then they're gonna have to find a reason to use up all these bombs so they can keep buying more and more and lining the pockets of their buddies. This is just an example of what a racket the U.S. military is, that they would go out of their way and use these very expensive toys to take out individual little insurgent fighters. It's just it's beyond parody. I mean, it's like getting out your gun to shoot an ant instead of just stepping on it. But anyway, the Pentagon was quite proud of their kill. They were saying, hey, look, we made the world a better place. These 3 guys that were on our hit list are gone, and now everyone should thank us because we did such a great job. Aren't we wonderful? Yes, please salute us. And then it started to come out, well, no, these actually weren't Taliban fighters. They were just, ordinary people, which, again, it's kind of easy to mix those up, when you're using a bomb like that and you're following somebody in their car. It's pretty, and considering that these insurgent fighters don't have uniforms or anything like that, it's pretty easy to mix them up with civilians. And considering that there's such a small percentage of them, that actually are the fighters that you're trying to kill, your likelihood of getting something wrong and killing the wrong person is pretty high, which is why, civilian casualties in Afghanistan, part of the reason why they've been so absurdly high since the invasion in 2001. The other reason, of course, being that the civilians killed are so-called collateral damage, and that doesn't really matter. If you drone a picnic with one guy there that you want to kill, but you kill 40 people, that's collateral damage. We at least got the guy we were going for. In this case, however, they didn't kill anybody that they were looking for. These were all, perfectly normal people who just had the terrible misfortune of being born in Afghanistan. Specifically, there was a woman in the car who had just given birth. She was a new mother, 25 years old. She was probably very excited about, becoming a mother and being able to raise her child and try to, live a happy life, as happy as it could, because, she's only 25, or she was only 25, so she grew up, through this entire war in Afghanistan. She doesn't know anything else, but, even in that horrible, hellish environment, she was probably somewhat optimistic, about bringing her child into the world and trying to, raise them into a decent person maybe that could help rebuild their country. But she'll never get to do that now because she's dead, along with everyone else in the car. Apparently, she had, given birth at home, and there was some kind of complications. We don't know the details, and so the family decided to take her to a clinic in town because, of course, there are no hospitals in most of Afghanistan. And so they were driving through town, and just, without them ever knowing it, they had no idea. They just got bombed. And the bomb was targeting their car. And that was the end of them. 5 people wiped out. People who lived totally normal lives up until that point, just all of a sudden, in an instant, were wiped off the face of the planet. They never existed. There probably won't be too many people to remember them since, so the whole family is dead, except for, maybe that baby that's now going to grow up without any parents. That baby, which thankfully was not in the car, was at home, probably with with a grandmother or something like that. He, I believe it was a boy, will grow up now without a mother. And he's not going to grow up without a mother because of, complications from childbirth, or because she died of some disease, or because she got cancer. No, he's going to grow up without a mother because the Pentagon decided that, he shouldn't grow up with a mother. It was because of a mortal human being's choice that he now is not permitted to grow up in a two-parent household, or perhaps even a one-parent household. I don't know if his father's alive or around. But hey, I mean, they hate us for our freedom, right? There's no other reason why the people in the Middle East would want to blow up buildings and kill thousands of Americans. There's absolutely no justification for that, obviously. But, is there really no reasoning behind it? Is there no rationale? Is it really so hard to comprehend why people in the Middle East want to blow crap up in the West, why they want to kill people, why they want to murder you? It's because there's a lot of kids like this who have grown up and whose families have been destroyed, and whose family members have been murdered by specifically the United States government. And these kids grow up and they want revenge. There are multiple generations of kids like this. The generation that carried out 9/11, they were mad about the 1991 Gulf War. Okay, think about that. What a minor exercise that was. But that was their big grievance. If you read any of their stuff, that's what they were mad about. They were saying, we're striking back because America came and invaded our lands, and, they put their troops on holy soil in Saudi Arabia, and this is terrible, and we have to, get back at them. Now, what do you think, if those people were willing to perpetuate such an attack based on something as minor as the Gulf War? What do you think all these kids growing up who've grown up in Iraq and Afghanistan over the last 20 years, what do you think that they would be willing to do to get their revenge on America? And yet Bush and everybody else tells us that they hate our freedom. You know what? Maybe you're right, George, in one way, in that they hate your freedom to bomb them. That's what I think they probably hate. I really should go through the math and see just how many 9/11s have been perpetrated on just the people of Iraq and Afghanistan, let alone all the other countries like Yemen and Syria and whatnot. How many of those have been perpetrated upon them by the United States? And I don't just mean how many times, have 3,000 people been killed, because of course the U.S. has a much bigger population than Iraq or Afghanistan. You'd have to try and come up with a proportional number. And then see how many times that goes into the total figure to see how many 9/11s have been perpetrated on that population. It really makes me wonder, at what point is it enough? At what point have these people suffered enough for crimes that they didn't commit? Because, of course, the 9/11 attacks weren't even perpetrated by people from Iraq or Afghanistan. They were perpetrated by Saudis and Egyptians, countries that are aligned with the United States, so we didn't invade them. And, of course, even if the U.S. did invade Saudi Arabia or Egypt, that wouldn't have really been justified in the same way. It wouldn't have been justifiable to do, what's been done in Iraq and Afghanistan to the people of Saudi Arabia or Egypt, because, the only folks responsible for, 9/11 were a handful of, the people in Al-Qaeda, which was, a couple hundred guys at that time who happened to be running around Afghanistan. All of, most of whom I'd assume are dead by now, but, of course, in that time, there's been so many more thousands of anti-American radicals who have been created as a result of the war. Young men like this, like this baby will grow up to be, who have had their families taken away from them. It's not something that's so easily forgotten or forgiven. Very few people in the world are like the Amish, to where they can, try and forgive a murderer. Even if it's just one member of their family, let alone a whole mass of their family or their entire family. What if you're the one guy who didn't show up to the picnic and everybody else was killed, and now you're all alone in the world? Even Hamid Karzai, the U.S. puppet president of Afghanistan, the guy who was a big guy involved with the heroin trade, or the opium trade. His brother was a big opium warlord, and was eventually assassinated, himself. So Hamid Karzai, bad guy, very corrupt. He's essentially a drug lord. I'm saying too much again. That president, Karzai, he says that that the U.S. really needs to knock it off with this bombing stuff, because it's getting a little ridiculous. Even he thinks that the U.S. is going way too far with all this, and that peace will never be achieved, and that peace is really what they should be focusing on right now, trying to restart the talks with the Taliban. I don't think he's even strongly condemning this attack in any particular fashion. I think that he's just trying to give his American friends some friendly advice and say that you're really wasting your time here. Which, of course, is true, whether you want to look at it from the perspective of an Afghan or an American, even if you don't care about the people of Afghanistan, even if they are, nothing but meat puppets to you. Well, then this war is still a terrible waste of time. Even if you are someone like Ben Shapiro, who absolutely said, put it down in paper, the people of Afghanistan are meaningless to me. They, however many civilians have to be killed, so be it. We need to maintain whatever we need to do to help our security. Well, guess what, Ben? You're not helping your security. You're hurting it. You're making everything worse by creating more and more terrorists, generation after generation. Afghanistan cannot be fixed. It cannot be, it wasn't in a good place before the U.S. invaded. It's not going to be in a good place after the U.S. leaves, and it's not going to be in a good place so long as the U.S. stays. So just get out. It's as simple as that. And so if you gain anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day, and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.